China just sent a flying motorbike to CES in Las Vegas, unveiled it inside a convention hall full of American tech executives, and nobody from Detroit was ready for what they saw. That right there is the moment you need to understand, because it was not just a vehicle reveal. It was a signal. A country that once assembled cheap electronics for American brands is now standing on the floor of America's biggest consumer technology show, presenting a machine that does something no American company has managed to put into production: a personal flying motorcycle that rides on the road, unfolds its propellers, and lifts itself off the ground with a human being on board. And that is only one piece of a much larger picture unfolding right now across the skies above China. In this video, we are going to dive deep into the Chinese flying motorbike revolution and show you exactly why this is one of the most strategically significant moments in the technology race between the United States and China. We are going to cover the machines themselves, the companies building them, the regulatory framework that is already ahead of anything the FAA has produced, and the single most alarming fact about where personal air mobility is heading and who is getting there first. Welcome to Chinese Revolution. It is now the middle of 2026, and the global race for personal air mobility has reached a genuine tipping point. As an analyst tracking these massive international developments, what is clear is that the landscape of urban transportation is undergoing a structural shift, so large and so fast that most American commentators have not yet caught up to it. The relevant question is no longer whether personal flying vehicles will exist. They already do. They are already certified. They are already carrying passengers commercially in Chinese cities right now. The question, the one that matters to every American watching, is who owns this industry when it matures into a multi-trillion-dollar market? And the answer, at this precise moment in the year 2026, is uncomfortable. While Washington debates aviation reform, Beijing already built the skies. That is not a slogan. That is a description of events that already happened. Let us begin with the machine that started this conversation. The vehicle that showed up at CES 2025 inches Las Vegas and changed the way engineers, executives, and analysts around the world think about personal transportation. The company is called KuickWheel Intelligent Technology, based in Nanjing, China. Their international brand is Richter, and the machine they brought to Las Vegas in January 2025 is called the Skyrider X1, described by KuickWheel as the world's first amphibious manned-flying motorcycle. Amphibious here does not mean it crosses rivers. It means it crosses transportation dimensions. On the ground, the Skyrider X1 operates like an electric moped, stabilized by what appear to be automated outrigger wheels that keep it balanced when you stop. When the traffic in front of you becomes an impassable wall of cars, and you have had a commute like that, most of us have you fold out 4 arms, power up 8 coaxial propellers arranged in a 4-axis configuration, punch in your destination, and the machine handles the rest. The airframe is constructed from carbon fiber composite and aerospace-grade aluminum, keeping the weight down to where an electric drivetrain can actually get it off the ground. Maximum flight speed is 62 miles per hour. Flight duration is up to 40 minutes on a single charge. The built-in 50 kilowatt DC charging system means you pull up somewhere, plug in, and you are ready to go again within a reasonable window. The machine features an automatic route planning function that, according to KuickWheel, determines the optimal flight path based on your set destination, adjusts altitude and speed in real time based on weather and environmental conditions, and includes automated takeoff and landing to make the flying part accessible to a much wider population than trained pilots. For safety, the Skyrider X1 carries a triple redundant flight control system, so if one control pathway fails, 2 backups take over. There is a battery management safety system and an integrated emergency parachute. Those are not optional extras. Those are part of the base design philosophy. Now, 40 minutes of flight at 62 miles per hour means a maximum aerial range of just over 40 miles on a single charge before the machine needs to land. Think about what that means in a practical American context. You live outside Charlotte, North Carolina. Your office is downtown. The drive on a bad Monday morning is 55 minutes sitting in traffic on I-77. On the Skyrider X1, you leave from your backyard, you fly over the gridlock, and you are at a landing pad downtown in under 30 minutes. That is a fundamentally different relationship between your home and your workplace. It is the kind of shift in daily life that the automobile itself created when it replaced the horse, and the people who dismissed the automobile in 1910 are not remembered fondly by history. The debut at CES 2025 drew coverage from over 100 media outlets and influencers. On the first day alone, the KuickWheel exhibit attracted more than 10,000 visitors. That is the response you get when a real machine, not a render, not a concept video, not a mock-up, shows up and makes a credible argument that it works. What do you think about the prospect of a personal flying vehicle becoming part of everyday commuting within the next decade? Have you ever sat in a traffic jam bad enough to make you seriously wish for an alternative? Share your personal experiences and detailed thoughts in the comment section right below. The community in this channel has some strong opinions on this topic, and yours matters. The Skyrider X1 is genuinely interesting. But if we are being honest with you about the strategic picture, the Skyrider is the opening act. The main event is the machine that Xpeng AeroHT, also known now under its international brand AeroHT, has been building in Guangzhou since 2020. And when you understand what that machine actually is, every legacy automotive executive in America should be paying very close attention. The vehicle is called the Land Aircraft Carrier. That name is not marketing hyperbole. It is a literal description of the product's function. Picture this: a six-wheeled electric van, roughly 18 feet long and 6.6 feet wide, built with a range-extended hybrid powertrain, targeting over 620 miles of combined ground range. The front seats 4 passengers. The entire rear half of the vehicle is a loading bay. And inside that loading bay, folded up and recharging from the mothership's power system, is a 2-seat eVTOL aircraft with a 6-rotor design, foldable propellers and arms, and a cockpit made from lightweight carbon fiber. When you decide it is time to fly, you push a single button. The dual rear doors and rear hatch pop open automatically. The eVTOL slides out on its own. The landing legs deploy. The suspension drops on the van drives forward, and the flying car is standing in the open air, loaded, powered up, and ready to take off. No airport, no runway, no fuel truck, no gate agent. You drive to wherever you want the flight to originate, you step out of the van into the aircraft, and you lift off. That van's range-extended powertrain also acts as a mobile charging station for the eVTOL. According to the company, the mothership's onboard battery and fuel tank can provide enough energy to power approximately 6 complete flights before it needs to refuel or recharge itself. At a flight range of roughly 12 miles per trip, this is a low-altitude short-range machine. By design, 6 flights means covering different parts of a metropolitan area in a single day from a rolling base of less. Operations. The eVTOL received airworthiness certification from the Civil Aviation Administration of Central and Southern China back in March 2024. In May 2025, the CAAC accepted the production certificate application, moving the program another step closer to mass manufacture. A new Guangzhou manufacturing facility spanning approximately 180,000 square meters, that is the equivalent of about 31 American football fields under a single roof, is designed to produce up to 10,000 air modules annually. The price for the complete land aircraft carrier system is reported to come in under 2 million yuan, which translates to approximately $280,000 US. That is more than most American families can casually spend. But consider the full picture for a moment. You are buying a 6-wheel drive off-road capable van with over 600 miles of range, which outperforms most production pickup trucks on the market today, plus a certified 2-seat electric aircraft, plus 6 full charge cycles for that aircraft built into the van itself. A modest single-engine Cessna 172, which has been the entry point for private aviation in this country for decades, runs somewhere between $250,000 and $400,000 used. The land aircraft carrier gives you something the Cessna cannot: a machine that also drives on the road, parks in a standard space, and deploys its aircraft without an airport. Xpeng AeroHT has reportedly accumulated over 7,000 global orders for the land aircraft carrier. That includes a single order of 600 units, placed at the 2025 Dubai GITEX exhibition, the largest single overseas bulk order ever placed in the flying car category. A new Guangzhou factory was fully completed as of late 2025. First deliveries are targeted for 2026, which the industry widely describes as the opening year of the eVTOL commercial explosion. Now, I know some of you might be thinking about stepping away right here, because this sounds like the kind of futuristic promise we have heard before flying cars were supposed to exist in the 1960s, and here we are still sitting on the highway. But trust me, you will want to stay. Because what comes next is the piece of this story that separates what China is doing from every previous wave of flying car optimism. The difference is not the hardware. The difference is that China has already solved the regulatory problem that has paralyzed American companies for years. That brings us to EHang, the Guangzhou-based eVTOL manufacturer listed on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange under the ticker EH. What EHang has achieved in the regulatory arena is, by any honest analysis, the single most important development in civilian aviation in the past 2 decades. On the 13th of October 2023, EHang announced that its EH216S passenger-carrying unmanned aerial vehicle system had obtained the world's first type certificate for an unmanned eVTOL aircraft from the Civil Aviation Administration of China. Then, in April 2024, EHang secured what is described as the world's first production certificate ever granted in the global eVTOL industry, clearing the path to mass manufacture. Then came the Standard Airworthiness Certificate. Then, in March 2025, EHang's operators obtained the first batch of Air Operator Certificates for civil human-carrying pilotless aerial vehicles from the CAAC, making China the first country to formally launch commercial pilotless eVTOL passenger services. 4 certifications, 4 world firsts, all in less than 18 months. To put that in a context that hits home, EHang's EH216S has now accumulated over 40,000 test flights in the process of achieving those certifications, and that number is not an estimate. It comes directly from EHang's airworthiness documentation. American companies like Joby Aviation and Archer Aviation are still working through the FAA certification process as of the middle of 2026. Both are promising companies doing serious engineering work. But the FAA's rulemaking process for advanced air mobility is measured in years, while the CAAC has already issued operating licenses, and Chinese citizens in Guangzhou and Hefei are already purchasing tickets for commercial human-carrying pilotless flight services. The EH216S itself is a striking machine. It carries 2 passengers with a maximum takeoff weight of 650 kilograms, that is about 1,430 pounds, runs entirely on battery power, flies at a maximum speed of approximately 80 miles per hour, and carries a range of roughly 19 miles per flight. The price in China is reported to be approximately 2.39 million yuan, or around $330,000, in the Chinese market. In November 2024, EHang completed a flight test of the EH216S equipped with next-generation solid-state batteries, achieving a flight duration of 48 minutes and 10 seconds on a single charge, a strong indicator of where the range numbers are heading as the battery technology matures. By March 2025, EHang had expanded its international demonstration flights to 19 countries, including operations in Spain and Mexico. The company is planning to double its production capacity to 1,000 units annually at its Yunfu production base and is developing a new factory in Hefei. A next-generation model, the VT35, is advancing through type certification. Now here is where the geopolitical frame of this entire situation comes into sharp focus. The Civil Aviation Administration of China did not create this regulatory environment by accident. 31 Chinese provinces wrote the concept of a low-altitude economy directly into their 2024 government work reports. 15 cities, including Beijing, were designated to expand low-altitude flight routes and application zones by 2025. According to the Civil Aviation Administration of China's own projections, the Chinese low-altitude economy market is expected to reach 1.5 trillion yuan in 2025 and potentially exceed 3.5 trillion yuan by 2035. To put that in perspective, 3.5 trillion yuan at current exchange rates is approximately $480 billion. That is a market roughly the size of the entire global airline industry's annual revenue, being built from scratch and being built deliberately, with state-level coordination and investment. While American developers focus on navigating FAA rulemaking, Chinese firms have already mastered the certification process, launched commercial operations, and are scaling factories to produce thousands of units per year. The global eVTOL market reached approximately $12 billion in 2024, with a compound annual growth rate estimated above 35%. China accounted for a disproportionate share of that growth. In 2024, the Chinese low-altitude economy alone exceeded 500 billion yuan in scale. Over 800 global companies are now competing in the eVTOL sector, but the companies with certified aircraft, operating licenses, and functioning factories are overwhelmingly concentrated in one country. Compare that to the American side of this ledger. The FAA's eVTOL Integration Pilot Program is a 3-year series of operational demonstrations that is only beginning to take shape. The U.S. government has formally designated advanced air mobility as a national strategic priority. That acknowledgement is important. But acknowledgement is not certification, and certification is not production, and production is not delivery. China is 3 to 4 steps further down that chain right now, and the gap is not closing quickly. The recurring thesis of this story, and pay attention to it because it runs through every single development we have covered today, is this: while Washington debates, Beijing builds. That is not an ideological statement. That is the sequence of events, as documented by public records, certification filings, order books, and factory construction timelines. What does this mean for the American industry? It means our domestic manufacturers, and we should care about our domestic manufacturers, are entering the commercial phase of personal air mobility from behind. The engineering talent exists in this country. The aerospace heritage of the United States is unmatched anywhere in history. The private capital is here. Joby, Archer, Whisk, and others are doing real work, but the regulatory environment has not kept pace with the technology, and that gap is costing our companies first-mover advantage in a market that could be worth hundreds of billions of dollars within a decade. The deeper structural issue is that roughly 70 to 80% of the flying car supply chain can leverage the existing foundation of electric vehicle manufacturing, according to industry analysts at major Chinese automotive forums. China already dominates global EV battery supply, electric motor production, and lightweight carbon fiber composites. That means flying cars do not require China to build a new industrial base from scratch. They require China to extend an industrial base it already owns. Our manufacturers face the opposite problem. They would need to build or source that foundation, while simultaneously trying to catch up on certification. Now, there is an honest caveat here, and any serious analyst has to acknowledge it. The Skyrider X1 from KuickWheel, while impressive as a concept and genuinely novel as a machine unveiled at CES, was still working toward confirmed flight test certification and full production details as of early 2025. New Atlas noted that working prototypes, flight tests, and certifications were not fully included in the early press materials. That is the kind of transparency that matters. Not every announcement is a deliverable. The land aircraft carrier from Xpeng AeroHT has more documented regulatory progress, airworthiness certification, a production certificate application, a completed factory, but is also targeting 2026 deliveries in China only for now, with global regulatory pathways still to be determined. EHang's EH216S is the most fully documented example, with the complete chain of type certificate, production certificate, airworthiness certificate, and air operator certificate now in hand. The point is not that every Chinese flying vehicle will succeed. Some of these companies will not survive to mass production. The point is that the regulatory ecosystem, the industrial base, the state-level coordination, and the capital concentration in this sector are all pointing in one direction, and that direction is not Washington or Detroit or Houston. The future of personal air mobility will likely be defined by a combination of American aerospace engineering heritage, American private capital, and the sheer industrial and regulatory velocity that China has already demonstrated. But the warning for our domestic industry is real, and it is measurable. If American companies do not close the certification and production gap within the next 3 to 5 years, the foundational architecture of this market, the supply chains, the manufacturing standards, the regulatory precedents, the consumer adoption patterns will have been established by Chinese firms. And once a market architecture is established, displacing it is generationally difficult. We saw that with smartphones. We saw it with solar panels. We are watching it unfold right now in electric vehicles. This is the moment to pay attention. Not because of fear, though a healthy sense of urgency is completely justified, but because the decisions made right now by American regulators, American investors, and American manufacturers will determine whether our companies lead this market or spend the next 2 decades trying to buy their way into one that someone else built. While Washington debates, Beijing builds. That is the story of this moment. And whether you are watching this from a suburb of Dallas, or a town outside Cincinnati, or a neighborhood in Pittsburgh that used to have a steel mill, that sentence should mean something to you. Because the industries that define the next 50 years of economic power are being claimed right now, one certification at a time, one factory at a time, one order book at a time. Which of these machines would you actually trust to carry you above your city? The Skyrider X1's riding then flying concept, or the Xpeng AeroHT's mothership and drone system? And do you believe American companies have the regulatory and industrial momentum to close this gap before China locks in a dominant position in the global air mobility market? Those are the real questions here, and I want to hear what you think. If you found value in this deep analytical breakdown, please remember to hit that thumbs up button, share this video with someone who follows the technology and geopolitics space, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another exclusive look into how global technology is reshaping the balance of power. The conversation happening in this channel is exactly the kind of conversation that American citizens who care about the future of this country need to be having. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next analysis.